Hello and welcome to Stampscapes Live. We're going to try a nice, bright, springtime, happy looking scene full of nice, bright tones. I've shook up my acrylic paint pens here. I have a decent palette of green hue using both colored pencils and some dye-based inks. And let's see what we can do with this. Okay, so I envisioned these winter ash trees to be also used for springtime types of images. Like you can use them in fall as well. Just by stamping them in black and then adding different tones to it via the dye-based inks and especially the paint pens. Okay, so I'm going to try it here. I don't know what this is going to look like here, but let's give it a shot. I thought we would add in some spring blossoms to it as well. Hello, Froggy Fresh. But let's just, I don't know, let's do a little experiment here. Okay, so 4¼ by 10 inches. I figured, it'd have a decent amount of space for all of this types of imagery that we're going to use on here. I'm going to add quite a bit of imagery to this one, so it's going to be really packed. So I prepped all of it beforehand, so let's see how it goes. Hello, Sandy. Okay, let's see. Let's go. I'm going to use a StazOn here. Just you can use dye-based inks. I've always used dye-based inks, but I'm just thinking with the StazOn here, I won't have to wait till some of this dries. And I don't know if I'm going to use alcohol pens on here. I was thinking mostly dye-based inks. So let's give this a try. Let's see. I'm going to go a little bit right of center here with the dirt road. Hello, Bonnie and Rhonda. Okay, let's see. This one's going to be a fairly dense composition here, so bear with me. I pulled out all the stamps that I think I'm going to be using, but, I might omit something based on what I see here, because I don't really measure everything out, to see if it's going to fit. But I wanted to put in this quote stamp here, and that's one of those things. A lot of times I don't leave room for the word stamps, so I think I might just stamp that right now and work other things around it, just, so I don't have to think about that, okay? Okay, so this one is, actually, I'm not sure what scenic sentiment set this is off of. I know it's not 2, because that one's the kind of the sky space one, stars. It's not 6 or 7, so one of the other ones. Okay, so that's going to go right there. So it's a fairly, I tend to go with these quote stamps here. I mean, I do it by theme, that's the most important thing. But I also do it by kind of the format of, if they're long like this, I do them on a landscape type of format. If they're, vertical, then I go for a little bit more of a, I don't have too many real narrow quotes, with a lot of words on it, but that comes into play a little bit. So, all right. Okay, so we have these trees that are going to go in here. It's going to be a little bit kind of off, I don't know, whatever, not off center, but I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but it's going to be a little bit varied here, okay, because of this. So if you stamp this down this way, it means it's closer to you, okay? And we're going to use both winter ash trees here. And let's just do that. Let me stamp it out right here. This one's going to be a pretty easy composition. Sometimes I take distance of objects into consideration, so the more distant ones I tend to stamp out. Well, I don't know if I tend to, but I often stamp out those in a lighter value depending on, where they are in the distance. But this one right here, I think I'm just going to stamp out everything in black, because I'm not going to have a huge amount of space. I'm not going to put like a mountain in the background or something like that. All right, so stamping this a little bit lower and off the page. I was just writing to someone that was going to be doing a demonstration in Stampscapes. I don't think they've done that before. So they were just asking me for some tips, and one of the tips that I gave them was, you know, when you're teaching kind of techniques in scenic stamping, a lot of it is, you know, we think about teaching them how to do something, okay? But when you're doing just scenic stamping in general or Stampscapes, a lot of it is you're kind of getting them used to doing something that they might not have been doing in the past. And that's one, if they see a stamp this big, they think a lot of types of stamping, you stamp the entire image, like a word stamp or a quote stamp. You're not going to stamp half of it off the page, you know, or something like that. But with elements like this, you know, you stamp them, you know, coming up from the bottom, you have them going off the edge right there. So that's one of those real kind of basic things with scenic stamping that, you know, you do that you might not do with other types of imagery that, you know, a lot of people have just come to use. So if they're using 3 or 4 stamps, they all have to fit in their entirety within that given amount of space, whatever size card they're doing. But with, you know, scenic stamping elements, you know, sometimes you might even just stamp just that little bit right there. You know, you have all sky and you want a little bit of tree in here. It doesn't look weird to stamp out just the treetops. So I told her that, you know, in terms of what to expect, you know, from people that haven't seen scenic stamping before, you know. There's a lot of that type of notions you have to kind of, you know, dispel, or, you know, that scenic stamping is about a certain technique with certain media, you know. You have to use glossy cardstock, you know, and dye-based inks to do scenes or something like that. But you know, those are some of the basic things that you run into if you're teaching someone, again, that hasn't, you know, done it before. And I totally get, you know, where those types of notions are coming from, because a lot of the stamps, you know, that they've learned to stamp with, their outline stamps, things like that. Careful placement, not overlapping imagery, you know, without doing careful masking. That's, you know, one of those techniques that you do with outline styles of images. So, you know, they have to kind of, I wouldn't say overcome, but just get past that kind of process of, you know, the utilization of the images, okay? So I was telling her that type of stuff, you know, not really saying, okay, you got to teach them, you know, you got to do Lakeside Cove or whatever, and, you know, stamp that over the top of, you know what I mean? For, you know, it's really about the other types of stuff that I've come to realize a long time ago about, you know, the things that, you know, people are kind of surprised at in a kind of an introduction style of a demonstration with the images. This looks kind of cool as is, even with the bear imagery here. But what I was saying when I first started this video, people will see it on the replay, but if you just joined in, is I'm going to try to foliate this, you know, these images. You know, we'll put a little bit of greenery kind of popping through, maybe putting some blossoms up there. But I kind of feel like doing this again, but maybe I will in another scene later on this week or something like that, or whenever I'll do this composition right here. But you know what I mean? Like with snow or something like that, that would be really, it'd be really quick, because, you know, a lot of the scene's already kind of filled out. So anyway, let's see. Hello, Candy. Who did I say? Hello, CM and Linda. Good to see you all. Okay, so we have this set in here, and let's see. Now, in this area in here, I'm going to fill that in with some extra texture. I gotta make sure I have room for this little fishing guy. I can put him over here like he's going off the road, you know, over to his favorite kind of hidden fishing spot too. I think right there would be good for him. Okay, so let's see, some textures. Maybe this one's a little bit too large. I was thinking about that. Let's go with the sedge filler now. Okay, now the sedge filler, do I want to do that in black? I don't know. I might do it in a green, I think, or both. Okay, let's just see right here. Maybe with the closer applications, I'll go with black. Okay, like this, and then with the slightly more distant textures, using the same stamp, I'll go with how about a green like this one right here? It's kind of, yeah, it's pine green. So a little bit of darker green. Okay, just checking. Some of my pads are like super, super wet. Okay, let's go here. Look at that like so. Okay. Kind of have our little horizon right in there. And I want to make this scene real airy and light, visually, emotionally. So I wanted to stamp my cloud cumulus. It looks clean, but let me just check and make sure. Sometimes I'll have done that in like some, I don't know, pink or orange or something like that. Then I go to stamp it in blue and yeah, look at that. There was brown on there. See, I couldn't tell. It looked clean, but that brown is kind of roughly the same color as that red. I think I used it on the fire lookout tower, and I didn't clean that off afterwards. I don't clean them off in case I use a similar color the next time. So I just figured I'll have some kind of dried up, or I don't know, if I used it on that scene on the same day, then no big deal. But even if you have some dried, coloring on there, when you ink it up again, it kind of reconstitutes. As far as dye-based inks goes, not the StazOn or something like that. All right, is that clean enough? It might be a muddled version of whatever blue I use, though. Let's go with... I haven't used this Bahama blue in a while. Let's try that one. Oh, while I'm down there, let me grab my cottage ivy. That was on the bottom of the pile. By the way, a lot of my color choices, I don't know. Remember, I don't know. Someone was watching, a couple weeks ago, and they asked, hey, you didn't mention what color you're using. I just, a lot of my color choices, like I wasn't going to use this cottage ivy because it was on the bottom of a gigantic stack of pads. I'm just grabbing things, based on light, medium, dark usually, and certainly type of ink, okay? But just think about your inks in terms of values a lot of times, and it just makes your ink selection process so much easier. And if you know the basics of your inks and kind of roughly how dark they are, it'll be a nice, easy time. That's what I do for myself. I'm not thinking of like color theory or anything like that. Okay, so here's the Bahama blue. I wiped off the perimeter of it. Okay, so we'll go like this. Okay, and here we go with that whole idea of overlapping what I was mentioning to the person that was going to be doing some demonstrating. I said a lot of people just are not used to the idea of overlapping imagery like this. They're thinking, if they're going to do a cloud behind like a tree like that, the person that's really new to scenic stamping, they're going to think that, if you stamp over the trees, with blue over the black, that blue might look like it's in front of the black right there. Okay, just, you know, in terms of the transparency. Because they haven't been doing that, because everything that they stamp behind something else, they are used to masking it off completely. So, you know, those are the types of things I mentioned. Okay, now this impression is going right around this right here, so I really wipe this down quite a bit so that it would stamp out fairly light. And let's just mask off, not the trees, but my grassy little, I don't know, whatever, horizon line right there. We're stamping this out like that. So see how it stamps out a little bit lighter. And then, you know, some of it, you know, is going into, actually it's not going, it matched up right at the bottom of that faith. I didn't aim for that though, but let's try to overlap it a little bit more to incorporate that word or the quote into it. So I'll just stamp this off and then wipe it off like so. I'm wiping it off a pretty decent amount, especially this top portion. And then let's mask off again. I don't know if we really need to mask off, but you know, just a ripped paper towel. So, okay, so see, I have that going right into those words like that. So that looks like a little bit better. You know, it'd be kind of interesting here. I just realized this now. I'm going to take this and I'm going to go for another impression like this. So it's mostly a cloud-filled sky, but will look like it will leave this bare without any cloud behind there, you know, going into it, certainly. But it'll look like the lighting is coming from, right, those word stamps like that, okay? It kind of, you know, word stamps are really, they're a super, super strong focal point because everyone's going to, you know, if there's something that's in a scene that, or a card, you know, people are going to read it, you know. See, there's no doubt that it's going to be one of those focal points. I don't know. It's not really a focal landing point because I think people read it first, and you know, after they know what it said, you know, every time they look at the card, I don't know if they're going to say, "Oh, you know, it's happy birthday" or whatever. You know, they already know it's there. But it's definitely the thing that's going to get the attention with the initial kind of viewing. So see that right there? This right in here is like a little bit illuminated, and then we'll enhance that a little bit more. I'll put a little bit more tone around in here. Let's expedite the process over here. Okay, wiping off. And let's put this like over here. So it's just a little bit darker, and then I'll have lighting coming from there into the scene, okay? So that's one of those little things I just thought of right now, just based on how the clouds were looking in there. Rhonda, I read your mind. In what way was that? In terms of the scene or something like that, or did I say something? But yes, I did read your mind. All right. I might go ahead and add this little figure in here right now. It's our little, you know, fisherman boy. And yeah. Okay, so I'm thinking about this right now because a lot of images, you know, from watching my videos, you know, I often add those things in last. Okay, but I plan on using some colored pencils on here. And like I've said before, sometimes stamping the imagery first is better when using colored pencils because sometimes other types of media don't stick really well to this waxy colored pencil type of, you know, whatever residue or whatever. Oh, here's one of those things. Remember about impression pressure right there? We have this really fine fishing pole right there. So you don't want to put press over here because it's not supported by, an additional area to the side of it. Okay, so it's one of those really, isolated types of very narrow areas. So in other words, you don't want to go like this and then just give an overall pressure, okay, over everything like that. Let me see if I can get it. I don't know. Can you see that it's a little bit more smashed down? I mean, over here it's a little bit smashed. I'm kind of, exaggerating things like that, but see that right there? It's much more pronounced. I'm stamping it on a piece of copy paper, so it's really absorbing all that ink really well, a lot too, but just isolated areas like that, So this is a really extreme version of that, but or example of this. But things like a duck's beak or something like that would be another example. If you put too much pressure around like a duck beak or something like that, it tends to look like a platypus. So, in other words, you can make a platypus, out of a duck. But most of my ducks like that are flying, so you have a flying platypus. Okay, so that is that. Hello, Jeannie. Oh, got it. Foliage on the trees. Let's give it a shot here. I've done it with the let's see. I've done it with other trees, but they were full. I'm trying to remember if I've done them like to a large extent on bare trees. I've done branches, I know for sure, but let's see how this goes. Hello, Nurse Sue. Good to see you. Hello, Melody. Good evening. All right, let's see here. Trying to think if there's anything else I want to add in here right now. I often like my little textural elements in here. Let's go ahead and add those in right now. You can add them in now. You can do it. You can add in color and then add these in later. If you're using dye-based inks, okay. But I'm just going to add that in now. I've started to use this little tiny rock small just as a texturing tool. I don't know, it just seems to kind of speed things up too, as far as the things I'm going for with kind of light and shade, except I'm just doing it with texture, which kind of, I don't know, it's like an extra little bonus here. So adding it in like so. I don't know if we'll be able to see a lot of this. Not in this lightest form. This is desert sand right here. Old paper distress, antique linen. That would be those are really great colors to do something like this with. So it's like you're working from light to dark in terms of your color applications with whatever media you're using. I'll use dye-based inks and colored pencils, I think, for the most part here. You know how I like to kind of add like a little vignette around the perimeters, the four corners especially. I don't know if I'll do it up here because the light is coming through there, but that being said, I'll add a little bit more of this in the corner areas, okay? Okay, that is the desert sand, and here's rich cocoa. I'm using some Memento inks. I don't know. I thought I would use those here. I know a lot of people don't have Marvy inks. I'm probably going to have to dip into those, at least a couple of these Marvies, because the Marvies sometimes are the things that kind of, if you want that little bit of extra kind of intensity, they can provide that. I just had visions of that. There's this movie called Spinal Tap where this guy's talking about his amplifiers and how one kind of brand goes up to 11 instead of the 10. But if you want that little extra intensity, with colors, get a couple Marby pads, just some basics like the primary colors or something like that in re-inker form, and you can just blend it in there and get your intensity. Okay, let's see here. Oh, Jeannie, can't wait to see that lighthouse scene. All right, so we have that. Do you see that right down here? Kind of, it's varied down here. I have some stronger dark, like the dark brown I kind of used in the road side right there because it's already dark on the edge right there, okay? And then we go a little bit darker right around here in the two corners like that. Okay, but notice that this card, it looks kind of sloppy right now with the way things look as a foundation, but, we're just kind of on the beginning stages of this. When you're doing this type of layering of colors and everything like that, from the get-go, at whatever, step A out of, whatever, N or, something L that you're getting to, it doesn't look like a finished piece. That's another one of those things that, I didn't really mention to that person that was teaching, but, with certain types of stamping, you can kind of get the gist of how a card is going to look, before you finish it. But when you're doing this type of layering like that, not all scenic stamping, you can do some really basic types of things too, that don't involve, multiple layers of ink or anything like that. But, it's kind of important when teaching this type of process right here is that, sometimes when people see a demonstration done or something like that, they're looking at this and they're saying, wait a minute, this doesn't look at all like that finished piece that I saw, okay? Because it's hard to envision when they're first starting out with, layering stamps, layering colors and everything like that. They're used to maybe kind of single types of applications of color over a given space. In other words, a lot of images are outlines. And, if there's a square, something like that, in an area, or not, this is an oval, okay? But let's say there's a pond right here and there's a house right here. That pond would just be a single color of something like that, But if they're kind of building with, doing lighting and things like that, it's kind of a weird process for them. They're not used to using that version of this color, in other words. They're used to using that version of it, right away. Anyways, this is pear tart, so just any kind of warm green. I guess it doesn't have to be a warm green, but a lighter green like that, okay? Leaving some areas a little bit lighter, to look like it's light hitting the landscape and reflecting, so you're lighting and coloring at the same time just by retaining the light in there. Okay. You got to get ready for the dog show. Wow. Now, are you guys attending or are you showing? I don't know if it's still so, but it used to be that if you view like an entire Stampscapes live broadcast, though, the odds, increased by like, I think it was like 20%, that someone would win a dog show the next day, so, just saying. Okay, so around this road right here, we're going to add a little bit more tone and shadow, like about like this. Don't do it too extreme though, okay? Because we're going to blend this green in with some brown that's going to be used down here like that, okay? Let's see this right underneath this tree. I mean, it's a bare tree, but we're going to be adding in, that foliage to it. I don't know to what extent, but let's do that. Really looking forward to this scene right here because, I've been seeing images of the super bloom going on with wildflowers, and I haven't gone to see them. I've gone to see them in the past, but I just didn't get around to it this year. I guess I can still go out, but yeah, I've been busy. So if you want to see something in terms of nature, but you just can't do it, luckily, we have the stamps to create it. No, it's not the same, but it's kind of like a subconscious little vacation. When we're stamping scenes out, that's my theory at least. Not joking, but on kind of on a subconscious level, you lose yourself in the process of making something, doing something creative as well. But I think when you're doing scenes too, that in some ways you kind of transport to them subconsciously in a way. All right, so there is, what is that? Bamboo leaves right here. Okay. Oh, you're showing your Saint Bernard. I saw that Saint Bernard, on your Facebook post. Was it just a couple days ago or something like that? Yeah, you and your dog get some good rest. It's dog show days. What time do you have to get up for that? Okay, cottage ivy. So, what is this? It's like light, medium, dark, right? I mean, it just have some kind of range usually. That keeps things really easy and simple. I mean, it doesn't have to be 3 colors. I mean, you can use more than that. I'll probably use a couple other tones, and I'll show you what that looks like in here. But see that right there? And see, I'm retaining that lighter area when I go in there. Now, if it's too stark white or something like that, I might, just blend a little bit more tone into it or something like that. But I'll do it with a dry application. See that? It looks like just like a real powdery light application of this tone right here. Or you just go back in with your lighter colors and add a little bit more of that lighter tone in there. Okay, but that is that. If I didn't mention it, I'm working on the semi-gloss cardstock here, which is very close to matte. It's just coated. It is coated. There are some matte papers that are uncoated matte papers as well. Oh, you don't have to get, let's see. So I'll be up at 7. Oh, okay. I'd imagine all that type of thing. Do you pre-register and they just check you in when you get there? All right, let's see what we have here. Okay, so we have Summer Sky and Bahama Blue. Let's do the sky up here now, okay? I'll still use my little green applicator. later. But let's start off with the summer sky, and I'll address the cloudy area here, okay? So go in like so. If you want some of those clouds to remain nice and light, like it's reflecting some of that light, then just don't tone it out, okay? That's another thing. I didn't go into that, otherwise I've been writing back to this person that's going to be demonstrating. It was a long response, like on IM, on Facebook, and I didn't want to write 5 pages or something like that. But that's another type of thing, you know, when people are doing like scenic stamping, if they see this done, they're saying, hey, how did you get that cloud white like that? You know, they think that you added some kind of white medium into there and stamped out white in there, or if it's, especially if it's something like a moon or something like that. But sometimes you just, you know, you stamp that moon stamp and then you just tone around it and the moon is still light, you know, it's showing the white of the paper or whatever. But a lot of times people think that those types of things are additive, not, you know, just the negative space that you didn't color in. So, yeah, I mean, when the person's demonstrating that, you know, they'll find that all out, you know, but I don't know, it's kind of, it's good to kind of know sometimes what some of the, you know, the preconceived notions might be going into it. And then you can kind of focus on those types of things and dispel those things right off the bat, you know, and kind of put people at ease as far as, just, I don't know, making them realize what the process is and, you know, that it's not so hard, you know, to do. Sometimes things like these types of things like this, it's harder for people to conceive of it that haven't done that type of thing before, because you can't tell where, like, sometimes one stamp ends and the other one begins. Is this a road right here that has the trees on it? Is that one stamp, you know? Is the cloud just one stamp that they just stamped up there or what, you know? I don't know, some of you in here, you know, I look at, you know, your posts, and sometimes you know, even for me, you know, I have to do a double take and say, I can usually tell it's a Stampscape stamps because I recognize the textural patterning and things like that, but, you know, I might not recognize, you know, I might have to look really careful and say, oh, that's like a 1/8 inch, you know, top of, maybe not that, maybe a 1/4 inch or something like that, 1/4 inch of some texture off of, you know, a certain stamp or something like that. So I do get it, for sure. There's some of that blue down there. I don't know if any of you were in that live stream from a few days ago. I just mentioned if you put that light blue, you know, down in other areas like that, even if it's not a blue area, even if it's not a cool area, but that jewel tone type of lighter blue like that, it just, I don't know, it brings, it fills things out really nicely, I guess. There's just kind of this, I don't know, it changes the light, I guess. I don't know, something like that. It doesn't have to be that specific one. Like I said, one of my favorites is the Distress Ink Tumbled Glass, which I ran out of like months ago, you know, because I used it so much, and just haven't gotten around to picking it up again. You know, another bottle of it. Where is that? Yeah. This one right here, Tumbled Glass, okay. I don't even buy the pad for it, because I just use the re-inker fluid for it, and I just, you know, I just put it on my applicator and just blend in like that. But I think I have like a order kind of ready to go in one of the shops. And I'm just buying it at retail like anyone else, okay? But I think I had like 3 bottles of it in the shopping cart, because I know I'm going to use a lot of it. Okay, so more desert sand right here. And I'm just closing that off a little bit up top right here just to kind of put a little bit more of the spotlight on this little kid. All right, and let's go with the rich cocoa. I should have used the Bahama blue up there. I'll go back to that blue here in a second. Okay, so this one's a little bit darker, so I'm going to be a little bit more careful about my placement. So when I start adding it on here, I'm doing it kind of slowly like this. I'm not using as much pressure. I'm not swiping it like that, okay? It just depends on how, wet your pad is too. I know this pad's not super moist, but it's dark enough. Okay, and then brown in the greens. Okay, so we've already added in some of that desert sand into this green area right in here. If you don't add like some other colors other than green, it'll look a little bit hotter, okay? I tend to like it a little bit more kind of earthy and mellow, so I do add these browns into these greens like this, okay? It doesn't make it look like brown grass, I guess it could if you just kind of use more browns and then you kind of enhance with green or something like that. But, the greens are showing through these brown tones like this, so, you're getting some sort of fusion of the two visually. Okay, it's not physically mixing on the, much on this paper towel here, okay? All right, so that right there. I'm going a little bit darker too, because I'm going to be adding things like wildflowers in here, and if I'm doing those in light tones, they contrast against darker areas a little bit better. So I'm kind of thinking about that too. I'm not going to do it too much because I don't want to go way too dark. Because you can always go darker later too, but give yourself a good foundation like that. Yeah, I can use a little bit of either one of these, like Marvy tones right here. This one's like really extreme like that, but I do recommend that light green if they still have it, wherever they sell it. The Marvy site used to have them. I don't know. They're starting to run out of certain colors, though, after years. All right, so Bahama blue. This is the blue that we stamped out our clouds in, okay? I'm not really applying a straight Bahama blue because some of that summer sky is still in this, paper towel here, so it's like it's in between these colors right now, which makes it easy to blend these colors in there because you're going with something, kind of a mixture of both of them. Right over here, I'm going to be careful not to go into the word stamp too much. But here's one of those other key things, okay? I'm going to take this blue and I'm really going to bring it down into this grassy area like this. And again, it's not really going to read as blue. It just looks like another green, right? Because greens and blues mix to form green. It might be a little bit of a blue-green or something like that, but I'm not using like a super dark version of it, It's just like that. But that placed over this green, it just reads this is like a darker green. But when you do that, though, let's see here. Let me add this in here, and you can take a look here. But I don't know if you can tell, but I think that the two areas harmonize a little bit better. I'm not going to take the green up in the blue sky, but you can take some of the blue sky down in the green like that. Okay. You can see a little tinge of like a little bit of a bluish tinge down there. So if there's a common color, you just make use of it and use it to your advantage. It makes the toning process faster too, because you can just take that one color and tone both areas like that. So I don't know, if you have a purple sky and like a blue ocean or something like that, then just use your, blue ocean or something like that and tone in the sky because, blue is a part of like violet, right? Or a component of it. And see right here now, let's see, let's put a little bit more tone. But see, I've darkened in this area a little bit more, but we have that little area where we didn't stamp our cloud. and then that looks like the light is coming in there. So you have this type of dynamic right here. Light. I mean, you can have more. I mean, that area spotlight right there, a little bit of spotlight right there. Like if you were going to do a deer or something like that in the distance, you know, I would leave that area a little bit lighter probably too. But it creates this diagonal type of element in here between your light source and the reflected light down here, because otherwise everything's kind of, you know, very horizontal like this, but this is a visual right here. Although you don't see this line going to, but it's, you know, representative of lighting going in there. I was thinking this might look cool with some light beams actually added in there too, but we'll see. Okay, so let's try for a little bit of a brighter tone, and I'll show you what I mean by just taking I need another paper towel here. By just kind of increasing the intensity a little bit. I guess the surface looks pretty good as is, and you don't always have to do that. Or you never have to do this, but I'll show you what this looks like. Let's go with this really bright one right here. By bright, I mean intensity, not lightness, okay? Lightness is different. You can have something that's very light, but very dull. So brightness is intensity, okay? So this is a really intense green like that. You can see it right there in comparison to the other tones that I've used. Okay, now I'm blotting it off right here, so I'm muting it out by making it just, you know, drier on here too, so I have a lot more control over it. And then you just lightly go in there. I don't know if you can see that right there. I'm doing it in the darker area, so I have a little bit more control. I do it in the darker areas first where you can't see it very much, and then I'm kind of creeping it into the lighter areas, okay? Where it's going to stand out more. I'll see if you can see the difference between the left and right side of the scene with and without this, okay? I don't know, can you see the difference between there and here? Now I didn't do it in the extreme, but it's just kind of more of a subtle look, okay? I'm doing a lot of it in the shadows too, because that's where I'm kind of starting off with, but I don't know if you can see the intensity there. It's warmer too, I mean this is a really warm green. I'm getting a little bit more gutsy, you know, with it. I'm getting a little bit brighter and brighter with it. It's not really making things too, you know, much darker, unless I go in the real light areas like that, but. All right, there we go here. Okay, so it's a little bit brighter. It looks a little bit more dimensional, I think, too, like that. Let's go with, let me see, do I have my bottle green color here? Where did it go? That one was like super juicy. I have no idea what happened to the bottle green. The bottle green almost looks like black. I used it accidentally the other day. Oh, here we go. I don't know, can you tell the difference between bottle green and black? This one's the black one right here. This one's a really dark green. All right. Ooh, that one's really super juicy. I need to be careful right here. Like that. Left and right bottom corners. Okay. Okay, so there we go. Fully rendered in terms of light and dark. Let's go back up to our blue tones up top. I think I already did use the Bahama. Let me see if I can get darker using that Bahama. Okay, let's go one. Value darker with the Danube. Okay, so you can see the range going from light to dark like that. Oh, first time showing for you both, the dog and yourself. That sounds like fun. What's your dog's name? All right, so just a little bit darker right around here. It kind of matches the darkness of the lower section like that a little bit, I thought. We want the, the clouds and everything like that to look, distant, but you also want it to be kind of incorporated in with the scene too, in some ways. And value-wise, it's, in terms of light and dark, it's an easy way to do it. So we're just matching it in terms of light and dark. You don't have to match it in terms of hue. In other words, we're not going to match it down up here with green or something like that. But there we go. Okay. So there's our blue tones. There's some of the colors that are going on the road. Light and dark, light, medium, dark on the greens, okay? Let's see. All right. Let's see here. I don't know. I've rendered this quite a bit. I'm not sure if I can really do very much more with the colored pencils, but I don't know. I have fun using these colored pencils these days, so I want to try it out. If you can bear with me. All right, so kind of a light, medium, darker type of application right here. I took a small dog in the shower with me once, then handed off to hubby. Okay, now this is another way we can get those kind of brighter tones, with colored pencils. As I'm doing this, I'm wondering if just doing colored pencils would have been even faster. It would have a different look to it, but, All right, so I don't need to do too much to this, but that is kind of bringing some kind of a more intense intensity in terms of like a little color glow going. This one's a little bit darker. Hello, Vintage Scrap Girl. This is, it's not too different. A technique here, or style. I mean, I've done this before. I haven't done too much dye-based inks in terms of this layering, amount of layering with the colored pencil over the top of it, I don't think. I thought I'd give it a shot, though. A little bit of a darker green right here. What is this? Olive. Okay. This is where I start to kind of anchor my trees down a little bit more, too. See, like that, little shade like that. It's kind of going on up here, but, I don't know. There's a lot of control over it when you're doing it with colored pencils, I'm finding. All right, and see these little textures in the road too? I'm going to go in and enhance some of those. So I'm kind of, where I see the darker textures, I'm going to darken it with the colored pencil, okay? So you're enhancing that. And you can also do that. You can see these darker areas on the sedge filler right in here. And those areas where I can see that texture, I'll just go in and color that where I can see them, okay? So it just, it varies this grassy terrain a little bit more. And it makes the forms look a little bit more, three-dimensional, I guess. Some of it, I took it fairly dark already with the dye-based ink, so it's hard to see the sedge filler. By the way, we could stamp the sedge filler over the top of that, if you just don't see anything at all. I can see my impressions, though. But I like this kind of enhancement with the colored pencils here. All right, so that is that. And we have some brown tones right here. Okay. It's a little bit kind of light. Well, it's not real light. Light would be like a tan color or something like that, but it's kind of a medium brown, a little bit darker brown, darker. But they're also, I don't know, they're different looking browns. One of them is a little bit more kind of charcoaly looking, but we can check this out. But here's that brown within the green that I was talking about too. So let's add this around the road like this. You can see it down the center like that. Down the center like this, that's where a lot of little greenery grows sometimes. So I'm going to add this little bit of green in here, where the tires aren't, just smashing down all growth. So I think a little bit of green like in there would be kind of cool. Okay. This is not a colored pencil instructional video. I'm just winging it here. As mentioned in other videos, if someone, if you've been using pencils, for any length of time at all, you're going to know more about it than I do. Okay. All right, so I just added a little shadow underneath the figure. The figure is going to be colored some color. I saw someone use that stamp recently, and I really like the color they colored their overalls and shirt. I'm trying to remember that combination. Yeah, I don't recall it all. But I just remembered it was really cool. I'm trying to envision it. Okay, so let's see here. Hello, Cheryl. Good to see you. All right, let's see here. Okay, now, so I went through all my different tones there, but you know what I didn't do? I didn't do black yet. I'm going to finish off with the black here, and then we'll get on with what I think is going to be a really, kind of the exciting portion of this whole thing, which are the springtime types of color forms and paint pen, touches in here. It might look really weird, but we'll see if we can kind of bring things together and unify them. Okay. All right, so that is that. Let's see, did I go through that? I don't know if I used this darker brown yet. Oh, you know what? Let's do this right here. This might be too hot right here, but see this pink right here? This one's a little bit of a lighter, maybe slightly warmer pink. It's called blush. Okay, now I usually do this with, just a little touch of some, a dye-based ink. I'll just go in here and, I'll use something like this and I'll blot it off and I'll just kind of give a little bit of a touch, onto my clouds. But I think those clouds can use a little bit of a tinge of a different color just for some visual interest. So I'm just going to take this and go really lightly. I mean, I can do it with this one too. If I didn't have this one, I would do that other one. The other one's just a little bit brighter, so it would potentially stand out a touch more. Okay, I'm going so light I can really barely see it and it's right in front of my face, but I think I can see a little bit of a tinge of difference. I'll bring some of that pinkish light down here on the road too, because, it kind of really harmonizes well with brown. I don't know, can you see that right in there? See, that's like white right there, but yeah. Right there, it's just a little tinge of that pink. I don't know if I can, yeah, it's still in focus a little bit. See that right there? So I didn't put any right here, but I put some right here. So it's just a little bit variation in there. Let's go a little bit brighter right here with a little bit of a stronger application. Maybe so you can see it a little bit more. If you're watching on like a computer screen or maybe like a larger iPad or something, you might be able to see that. If you're watching like on a phone, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Okay, but anyways, that is that. All right, let's see here. I have a bunch of pens here, and let's see how this is going to go, okay? Glad you like the colors, Candy. I pray that I don't destroy the scene. I'm just joking. But I hope I don't, still. And let's see. Okay, so I'm going on with these are 3mm acrylic paint pens. All right. So here's my idea. I thought I would use some like white blossoms in here in these trees, along with, like a springtime types of, green foliage popping up in those trees. So let's just see how it goes. I'm not sure about which ones to start off with. I think a lot of times with paint pens, though, I start off with a darker tone, and then I go from dark to light, because these paints are going to be more opaque than, say, colored pencils or dye-based inks, which are completely transparent, okay? So I'm generally trying to build things out from the background, so that's usually darker to lighter, okay? So I think I'm going to try that. I mean, that might be just interspersed, too. But well, let's see how it goes, okay? So I'm going to do it kind of, I'll put a uniform application of, like, a little bit of foliage at a time, and we'll just see how it goes, okay? Okay, this is good because I can barely see that those little dots on there, okay? For me, that's better because, I can build it up in more of a visually gradual way, okay? If it's like standing out like a sore thumb, then it's like, oh, that's a little bit more precarious, and I have to be a little bit more careful about application and placement, because it's just standing out just so much more. All right, so I'm kind of clustering things a little bit more. I'm not just doing it like overall, although I guess you could. It would look more like pattern if you did it that way, but let's just see how this goes. Okay, I really like the look. Sorry you can't see it too well. Which makes this live stream not so great for this portion. When I get into it with a lighter tone, you'll be able to see it. But yeah, that looks really good. I wish you could see it. Yeah, that looks great. I'm not using my 0.7 millimeter because this would just take forever with those. I usually do it, you know, like a sparser application. Okay, now see this one right here? I'm not going to put my hand right over the top of that. A lot of people don't feel comfortable about, you know, flipping their cards around. So you know, just flip it around because then you have access to this one now, okay? I'm finding this process right here to be fairly fast. I feel like, you know, I filled in this one, you know, without, it didn't take too much time. So kind of cluster, you know, cluster your dots around a little bit. It's not like stars or something like that, you know, you have a denser, you know, application of this, but these wildflowers, things like that, I think it looks better if things are a little bit more, you know, kind of not random, I don't know, varied, I guess you can say. And I say that because if you haven't done like dot applications of anything, stars in the sky, you know, nighttime sky with a, you know, gel pen or paint pen or something like that, we all, including myself, we space out our dots like, I don't know, it's like a 1/4 inch, you know, apart, or I don't know, most of us do, from my observations, including, like I said, including me. So I have to kind of think about that when I'm doing these types of applications of something. All right, so those are 3 trees. So I don't know if you can tell the difference between those 3 and this one right here. Keep your, you know, I'm moving my page around a little bit more than I am my hand, okay? I'm just kind of keeping my hand in a nice ergonomic, you know, position. My hand just falls like right here, so it's easier just to kind of move this around. You know, think about it like a sewing machine or something. All right, I'd have to say I'm loving the look of this, and you know, this kind of, I don't know, whatever look, you know, I don't know, whatever application for this stamps. Do you see what I'm doing here? You know, when I started with a white piece of paper, I started with the lighter inks first, okay? In terms of coloring, then you work darker. But now the things are kind of already darker, all right, with the background. So I'm starting with the dark and I'm just kind of reversing it. You know, this doesn't show up so much against the background. So it's like you can really kind of just kind of ease into it, you know, where when you're doing these tones down there, you're easing into it because it's a color that's not too much darker than the white of the paper. Then you go with the next incrementally darker color, you know, kind of, you know, it makes for a nice user-friendly type of process right here. You know, there's not this kind of jarring kind of contrast with any of the, you know, the media that you're applying at that given time. So it's just kind of like you're just easing into it. Like, you know, a few little dots of green up there. If you didn't like it, then it barely shows up. So you wouldn't have to worry about it. Okay, now I'm getting a little bit more free with my application over here, so I'm going back with this one and I'm adding it, adding more over this first one again to kind of balance things out. I'm adding, what happened was I was kind of putting this up in the branches, and then over here I started putting some of it in front of these, you know, the larger branches or even the trunk. Okay, so that's what I'm doing here now. I think we could do these, we can change these ash trees into like an apple tree too, you know. You can do like red apples up there. This is supposed to be spring, so I'm going to put the blossoms, but I don't know. I think we can, you know, probably do something like that. All right, so that was that one. Hello, Diana. Was the boy colored in a red shirt and dark blue pants? Were you the one that did that, Sandy? Yeah, it might have been. It was a red. Where'd that note go? Red shirt. I think the red. Yeah, I was wondering that. Um, Maybe we'll do that. That used to be one of those jokes with landscape photographers. It was this thing where it was kind of cliche, I guess, you know, with old landscape photographers, but you place someone in the scene, in the photograph, in the landscape photograph, someone wearing a red shirt. You know, it brought attention to them, and it gave kind of stronger scale to the overall when you have a person in there to relate, you know, to the things in there. So red is good. Hello, Maureen. Oh, could you see the difference there, Rhonda? Good, good. Peach Farms, that's cool. Okay, you can. Okay, good. I'm glad you guys can see some of the little changes in here. Okay, so let's go with the lighter green now. Okay, so I'm building these tones out from the background. Actually, this thing doesn't stick on there really well. All right, so I'm just gonna see. Now that definitely stands out more than the green that was kind of the same value as the background hues in here. This although this green is like the same, you know, value as that, and kind of temperature. So, you know, just apply accordingly. And when you're saying, hey, what do you mean accordingly? We don't know. I don't know either. I'm just kind of adding it in here and just, you know, I'm making it up as I go. But the thing is, I just add a few areas of it, okay? And then if I like it, I go more, okay? And then, you know, because you can always add more, but, you know, it's kind of hard to remove it, you know, so we're not wearing like blindfolds when we're adding this in here, but we're kind of blinding ourselves sometimes to the applications of kind of detailed media. In other words, when I'm adding this down, I'm looking at this little 1-inch square area or 2 inches, you know what I mean? So we need to kind of just, you know, you zoom out periodically to get a feel of the overall with those detailed types of touches like that, okay? So just kind of do that periodically. Or you just change your kind of focus on, you know, what you're doing from, I don't know, whatever, the micro to, you know, the macro. I think in the more distant, maybe I'll use less of the lighter touches, maybe. I don't know. Although that tree isn't like, it's not like a mile away or something like that, but. Okay, so here's these trees on this side, and you can see the difference between these ones right here, right? It looks a little bit more three-dimensional, I think. And that's where kind of working from dark to light with the pens, for me, comes in handy. These pens are not opaque, but they're a little bit more opaque than a lot of the other media, you know, that I happen to be using, or most media that I happen to use on this type of surface. And we've mentioned it before in previous videos too, but I think it would be kind of interesting to, you know, these paint pens like this, they stay a little bit moist after you add, in this case, dots down here like this. Okay, and I think it would be cool. I think we tested it out on one time with the aspen trees, but what we did was we added down some little dots like this as a little bit more three-dimensional leaves over the top of the aspen trees, and then we added clear embossing powder on them and then embossed them so they were raised kind of leaves, I guess, in that case. I can't remember if it was, yeah, I think it was autumn leaves or something like that. All right, so that is that. So the value difference between those two is right there. Now let's go with, let's add in, do I add the pink or the white first? You know, not that it matters completely, you know, totally, but let's go with the pink. I want to have some like pink little blossoms on here. Let's go with the white first, actually, because I know white's going to harmonize with this just fine because there's white elements in here, okay? So let's just see, okay? Looks pretty cool, I think. Those little white dots in there, you know, I like them like that, but they're going to dry, and they're going to be more of the color. It'll be in between this white and whatever color's underneath them, because they dry a little bit more translucent than they look when they're applied for some reason. I don't know, when it dries out, it just gets, I don't know, usually darker. Okay. I like these trees bare like in a winter scene, but I don't know, these look pretty interesting so far. You know, in this kind of springtime type of usage, I'm thinking. It's certainly fun to add these little touches down too. And okay, here's what I'm finding too that you might want to know. I'm finding that you can you don't have to be too careful about this placement of this. Okay, I'm just kind of going everywhere. I don't know if I could do it blindfolded, you know, and be as effective, but it seems like you can it's almost like that. Okay, I'm not clustering it. I'm not being careful about, you know, too careful about clustering or anything like that. It just seems like, I don't know if anything goes, but I think it would be accurate to say that almost anything seems to be going here, you know, in terms of the your placement of, or my placement of this. All right, yeah, like that. Let's cluster some of it. See, this one's is a little bit more bold. This one seems a little bit more timid, so let's go a little bit more over here to bounce off again. So I'm clustering some of the, you know, this white, I guess. I think that's what happened a little bit more. Like I said, I'm not being too careful about it, but. So you like that little buildup right there where it's a little bit denser. Maybe we'll do that in the two foreground trees. Okay. I don't know, just that white alone, that looks pretty good. It looks somewhere like an apple blossom or something. Okay, so let me try this little pink here. I'm going to put some of this on there. I think that pink will kind of, you know, it'll harmonize with those little pink clouds in the background just a touch. Okay, let's see. Glad you like that ground cover, Linda. Linda, you'll be able to achieve whatever you're going after. There's no question. Okay, this looks good here. That little pink in there. Now, like I said, you know, if you can add in like a couple little dots like that, you know, you can probably tell if you're going to like it or not. And if you don't, then just, dab over whatever 3 or 4 dots with, your white pen again, or something like that. If you want to just test out something. Okay, I think I'm going to go a little bit sparse in that background tree. That's my little subtle variation between near and far. Maybe we can see more of the kind of the detailed types of touches, maybe, in terms of, in this case, subtle color transitions or additions. Okay, so there you go. They look pretty, I don't know, they look pretty dimensional, I think. We were talking about embossing too. It might be cool just to do this scene right here. I guess you can emboss the dots, but it might be cool to do a scene like this where, wouldn't it be cool if you emboss the trees? So the trees are all, raised, but then you go over it with just the pens like that over a little bit of a raised tree. I think it would look pretty dimensional that way. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Okay, so all those little dots, of course, represented leaves and blossoms in those trees, okay? But now we're going to bring that element down into the grass forms and the road to represent kind of more lighting and highlights. I might bring some wildflowers. I don't know if I'll do wildflowers. Since this is, we already have these dots up here, maybe I'll have some of these little pink and white elements down below, like, you know what I mean? Like some blossoms have, fallen from the trees, and I think that might be interesting. So, okay, so anyways, I'm going to switch up here to my smaller 0.7 millimeter paint pens, okay? So we have a light green and white here. Spring has sprung. I got to get out and see some of those super blooms sometimes. Okay, I'm looking up at my screen here. Sometimes it's good to be able to see my screen here because I can see, like, see this little area right there? It's a little bit dark. I'm going to bring these little bit of more blossoms right in there, where that cloud gets a little bit dark in the background. Okay, ideally you want to go for, make sure that you stamp out 2,000 dots to no more than 2020, okay? We're joking, folks. Someone's watching this video for the first time going, what in the heck? Okay, so, let's see here. That ground cover, I'm not going to do too much. Here's the other thing that I really wanted to add in here. I don't know if it wouldn't look like woods, but I was thinking about this fence right in here too. I'm not sure. After I stamped out these trees a little bit lower, I wasn't sure if I'd be able to use it. But I think we might be able to, like this. And if I do that, should I do it right now? Let's see, it's come over like this, I think. I think that would kind of provide a nice foundation. Let's give it a shot. I gotta take off my sea turtles here. Or, let's go with the bigger block here, actually. Okay, we're gonna go with the stays on again here. Okay, I should take off this ash so I can see through. I can't see through at all. I just came close to really double stamping. I didn't realize I was already making contact with the paper. These fences of mine right here, this demo set is on a cling foam, so I'm usually using just bare rubber with the tack and peel right here. Okay, let's see. We'll go with the right side. And the left side here. I've been wanting to use these fences for a while, so they're going to make a sneak cameo in this scene. I'm just using just a little portion of them, right at the, just the tips of them. Okay, like that, right there. Look at that. That, I don't know if you can see it there, but where I stamped with the stays on over the top of the paint pen, it removed the paint pen applications down there. It's kind of interesting. All right. I'm going to frame off the bottom. I just wanted to provide a little bit more framing to this scene. I'm going to add a little bit of these reeds right here. It'd be like grasses or whatnot. Okay. All right. So we have that. Now let me go in. And I stamped this out right here because I wanted to work my smaller paint pens around these forms like that, okay? So, let's see. Okay, so I'll work from dark or darker to light. This is still a light green, but okay, so what I've done with these colored pencils, what I mentioned is I kind of just reiterated, you know, with the darker green going in there like that on here. But now when I hit it with the lighter values, I'm doing this on the highlights, so I'm doing it on these top areas like this, which are basically underneath the shadows, okay? If you can still see them, you know, if you can't see them, then you just kind of make up some areas in here. Just put some dots down and it looks great. Okay, it just looks like sparkling little illuminated areas of grass. Where you tend to focus a little bit more of your lighter touches is in these lighter areas though, okay? Like in the back. I wouldn't put too many like right here in the shadows because, you know, if it's darker in there, you're saying that light isn't hitting that area. So like right here, okay, let's see. I don't know if you can see this. It's still, you know, it's just a little bit lighter. When I come in here with like white, you'll be able to see it a little bit more. And here's these little tufts around the dirt road. Okay, I'm not going to do too many of these because we already have a lot of texturing going up, up in the trees. And I don't want this whole thing to look like pointillism, What is that? The Syrah. What was that? A walk in the park? I don't know. I can't remember that name of that pointillism, famous pointillism painting. Stroll in the park, or so, I don't know, something like that. Okay, here's white. This is all going to be mellowed out with a white pigment ink application too. So, okay, so right down here in the road, we'll make this a little bit more sparkly too. Okay. I do need to color that little guy still. All right, and on the fence, on the tops of the fences, there's a little bit of this highlight, but since I stamped it over an area that's darker, I'm just going to bring that out a little bit with my paint pen like this. Okay. So right there, you can see that fence. Now it looks like it's in front of the tree instead of I don't know, fused with it or something like that. Or this area of the fence right here, if you just put a little bit of a highlight on top of it like that, it'll pull the fence out from the background. Here's on some of these posts, you can kind of do a little highlight like this if you want. Like that. So yeah, just, that's like a little, little nick like that, okay? That just kind of brings it out from the background a little bit more. All right. All right. Let's go. I think I'm gonna do that red shirt. Let's give him like a straw hat or something like that. I don't know what color that would be. It'd be like this. I don't know, maybe like these two right here, I think. Something like that. But his red shirt will make it a little bit more kind of worn. So maybe I'll add this into both of them. I don't know. I'm thinking out loud here. I work with these colored pencils like this. Oh, Sandy did that scene with the red shirt. All right. Dark blue bibs. Okay. I like that scene, Sandy, and that guy. Maybe I even commented. I'd say I like how you colored that that kid. Okay, so I'm bringing some of this in there. Maybe I'll mail this out to you, Sandy, and you can color him. What did you color him with then? Did you color him with pens or something? Hello, Caroline. Would you use clear emboss? Yeah, that's what I would use, Caroline. Yeah, I've used some. I don't have a lot of embossing experience at all. Okay, so one time I did black embossing. Okay, using whatever, and I thought that the black pigment ink with the clear embossing looked better from a textural standpoint. Yeah, no, that was just using one, type of embossing that I just happen to have, so I don't know if, all powders are created equal. I doubt it, but Yeah, so I don't know. In my brief time, you know, experience doing embossing, and I've done very little in my entire life. That's what I've found with the embossing powders that I have on hand. Okay, I don't know what brand they are, where they came. I think I knew one of them, but the other, I don't know. I have no idea where I got them from. And the bottles they're just marked, but it doesn't have like a brand on them, so I don't know what they are. All right, so this guy's getting a little bit of a few different values of red. This is a magenta, huh? Kind of in the darker area right there. Something like that. And this is, let's see, let's go with a couple of different values of blue too. Like this. So it just looks a little bit more kind of rounded, I guess. You know, three-dimensional. Oh, here's this really light blue here. And if I don't color him well and he doesn't look good, hey, you know, I'm not his mom. I'm not the one who dressed him. All right. His hat, I've been trying to apply a little bit of tone. Here's one of the things about working on, you know, this semi-gloss cardstock, is I can't really build up my colored pencils too much. So I've built up a little bit too much with it. I don't know, whatever I was using right here. So it's hard to kind of apply another layer over the top of it. I'm trying to give his hat a little bit of dimension by darkening like one side of it a little bit. But I think that should do it. Who was that? I liked yours better, Sandy. I'd say, did Sandy? Yeah, I was wondering what she colored that one with. I asked Sandy online, but she said it would cost me $5 to find out. Such a small edition of the fences. Oh, yeah, it made for a little bit more of a, you know, kind of it anchored the scene down a little bit more. I liked it without it though, too. You know, I probably would have added in some reeds or something like that. And if I stamped these trees up a little bit higher, I could have had more of the fences in there. But just that little bit in there, I thought it's a little bit of a stronger visual lead-in like this now with the fences here. So I don't know, it kind of contained everything a little bit more. So it does say, in the woods we return to reason and faith. Well, I don't know, you know, the fences are out there and stuff like that. But this family built they built their house in the woods. So there you go. Do your pens make a nice dot, or do some of them create a line, a ball dot versus a line dot? It depends, Caroline, of what type of motion I'm using, I guess. The smaller ones, yeah, I mean, they all create a dot, okay? They're different than a gel pen, though, with that roller ball on them. With the roller ball, I was able to get a dot, you know, most of the time. But I do get a varied dot. Like I was getting kind of a weird dot with my pink or white, you know, sometimes when I was going dot, dot, dot over here, the dot, if I was to make it look bigger, it looked like this for some reason. I was getting like a dual kind of application. It was smaller over here, but you can't really tell on these trees anyway, so I wasn't really sweating that. But yeah, it usually gives a, you know, pretty, you know, a dot, you know, application right here like that. But see, okay, so there's a little bit of, you know, if I go fast, well, I don't know. It was a little bit of a different dot right there and this one right here. Sometimes this one over here looks like this, you know, with a little bit of a, I don't know, like a hanging thing like that. I don't know, it varies a little bit. But usually for my usage, it doesn't really matter, you know. Unless someone's looking, at it with a, like super, they're scrutinizing like really close. But that being said, let me add in a little bit more here. And I was just joking earlier. Sandy didn't say $5 for that tip. By the way, let's see. I like those little pink little blossoms up there. Let's go for a little bit of a stronger blossom right here. Yeah, I do have extra fine powders too. I do need to try some different colored embossing powders though, I think. I don't have too many. I have black and white and clear. I think I might have a metallic though too, like a silver or gold. Oh, this one's really pink here. Let's do this, but let's use it kind of sparingly, at least at first. I didn't think this one would stand out against. I've used it before and it was kind of like watery. I don't know why it's like really pretty vibrant. Or maybe it just looks like a lot more vibrant. Can you see that one right there? You can see those pinks in here a little bit more than like over here. Let's see. Okay, that's as close as I can get without my camera completely going out of focus. So super bright, but I bet you it dries darker and duller though. But I don't know. It is a lot brighter in intensity though than this one. This looks better. But I don't know if I'd use it instead of. I think the duller pinks in here in conjunction with a few brighter ones look pretty good. Saying all this, those general kind of multicolored packs, they have like all these colors in them. They're pretty universal in terms of their kind of starter color packs. I have a large pack of the 0.7 millimeter ones, but this one's just I don't know, yeah, 24 colors, very inexpensive. I'll put the links for all this stuff that I'm using. There might be better brands, Posca, I don't know anything about it, but that's the brand that people tend to bring up a lot. And I didn't, avoid that brand or anything like that. This just happens to be the one that I, started using, and I don't know, it's been working really well for me, and it seems like it's just, I don't know, and it's working forever. But when it eventually kind of, gets dry, maybe I'll try out, Posca's or something like that, or a different brand. Okay, I'm going to put some of these little clustered leaves or blossoms, I guess, down on the forest floor here. With some on the little path here, too. Okay. This is where I would go overboard here. So I'm going to stop right there with the pink in here. I don't know if you can see it. You might be able to see a little bit of a tinge of that pink down in here. It doesn't stand out huge because it's like the same value as the background green, but it's just a little bit of a change of hue there, like that. Okay, now remember I haven't added in the pigment ink yet. I'm trying to think if I want to go with the 3 millimeter as little blossoms down here. Let's go ahead and do some of it. It gets a little bit too loud a lot of times with me, with my paint pen usage, but then I just mellow it all out with the pigment ink over the top of it. Not everywhere, but just in a couple select areas here. Okay, let's see. Yeah, that little brighter pink was kind of nice, huh? All right. I think his shirt, I'm going to do this guy a little bit more on this shirt right here. Okay. All right. 100% cotton ball. And let's go. I don't know if my Hero Hues pigment ink is kind of drying out here, but I don't use that too often. So let's go ahead and, for some reason, this cotton ball is like hard as a rock. Let me loosen this up a little bit. Okay. It's good to have a little test piece of dark matte paper here, so you can see how much of your lighter tones, are coming out of your tools or applicators. Okay. Okay. So what the consistency you want is, maybe that's a little bit too dry, but roughly like that. Okay. You don't want a big blobby kind of, application of white pigment ink to be applying at any given time. Unless you have some area that's getting really filled in with a lot of, tone, and you need a lot of ink on your applicator to do that. But I do it very, I don't know, whatever, kind of methodically like this, okay? So let's see. I like this kind of like mist is kind of hovering around the base of things usually. We can put some maybe up in the clouds as well. I'm going to put some right over the top of some of my word stamps too, like the letter forms are getting illuminated by the light, or they're being influenced by the light. I think that's fine to do that. It just, it makes those things look a little bit more three-dimensional. And right around in this cloudy area, it makes them a little bit more airy and misty and light, like this. Okay, see this right up here, where those clouds are a little bit lighter, and you're just reiterating it. So like I said, in the shadow areas of things, I just make them a little bit darker. The lighter things, I'm making them a little bit lighter, with the white, with the paint pens and stuff like that. And if I was to do this scene again, it might not look, I can probably get something reasonably similar, but, not exactly, because I would be doing it different, so, there's not some kind of like set formula for everything. I just kind of, you respond to kind of, what you're seeing happening as you go. To some extent. Like I said, you can plan too, but allow some other, variation and surprise to happen. So see that, the base of the tree back there, this little area right in here is getting a little bit misty behind this little shadowy area, like that. You can have some of the light on some of your forms like this. Right down in here, oftentimes I'm around my fence, I like to do this right here. So that right, I don't know if you can see it. Here, let me go a little bit more. I don't know if you can tell that's a little bit lighter than over here, so it just kind of draws you in a little bit more. It's like the softer light is that way, so head, into the scene there. Okay, I that should do it. Let me put a little bit more at the base of this tree. Early bird gets the worm, right? So, you know, this guy, little guy is heading off, you know, kind of in the morning or something like that, you know, when there's still a little bit of a mist on the ground maybe, because he couldn't wait to go fishing. Or I think in the title of this one I said after school. Maybe we changed it to, you know, the Saturday fishing hole trip or something, walk. All right. Kind of bringing a little bit of white right there. See, it's kind of changing that a little bit. It looks a little bit more varied, like light is hitting it there. I think that's what it looks like. Okay, there we go. Here, a little bit more. When I turn my cotton ball, I'm kind of removing it, so I'm, you know, lifting some of that pigment ink like an eraser. All right, I think that should do it. So, what this scene is about for me in terms of a learning experience, it's definitely those ash trees with, what do we use on those? We used these here, okay? Just these tones right here. You do a couple different tones for the leaves. You start with the green, and then you go lighter green, and then white. Okay. Well, I guess these were the leaves right here. You go dark green with this kind of green on top of it like that. And on this one, we went with the white, and then I went with this dull pink, and then the brighter pink. So what it is, it's like something that's a little bit more, I don't know, kind of recessed visually with the white, you know? It was kind of integrated a little bit more. I thought the white looked pretty good. And then I like that pink in there, you know, it's that little tinge of a, you know, just a different hue. And pinks, you know, go well with these greens, you know, in terms of color harmonies. And then this is the one. So it's like you do something that's a little bit more obscured in the background and blends in. Then if you want to go hotter and hotter and hotter, in this case, then move up into your brighter tones like that. I think that's a good way to do it in terms of just control, I think. Yeah, the little guy's coloring on that worked out really well. Thanks for the, you used alcohol markers. I wonder if I should use some of that alcohol marker on there. Let's see. I'm just going with a little bit of pink here. Just, I don't know. The colored pencil got reasonably bright. Now I'm coloring over my colored pencil, so I don't know if this is really adhering to that, but well, that works better. Now I stamped my guy in StazOn, so I don't want him to smear, but I think I have colored pencil going over the black, so it's not smearing there. Let's see. Yeah, I couldn't get a stronger application of the color on top of that hat, but the alcohol marker worked. I don't know if the alcohol marker worked all over the top of that colored pencil, that waxy colored pencil. So, all right, thanks, thanks, Candy. That looks good there with the colored, with the marker, or yeah, with the markers there. Candy, live in the woods, have plenty of fences, not so many if living in a forest. Got it. Okay, let's see. Calling the boys clothes. I'm new to paint pens. I don't have many. Good to know the brand is good that you have. Someone told me in the Stampscapes group about this set right here. This is, these are the Artistro ones, and I'm loving this set right here because it has a vast range of all the values of every given hue. It doesn't have enough browns though, for some reason. I need like a light, I need like this brown right here, which it doesn't have that brown right there for me. But it has just about everything else. But the other one, you know, like that other set of these ones works pretty good. I've used some other ones too. One of them was a little bit more opaque, which I really like, but I haven't been using them too much because it's this Lanren Wang one. See this right here? The 3mm selection is only these ones right here. You know, I can probably use that pink there and it would stand out a little bit more. But I don't want to confuse people. I'm using one pen out of one set or something like that. But this one right here, this brand, in their advertising, they're saying that they have a higher pigment to water ratio or binder, you know, which is water in acrylic pens. So the inks are a little bit more opaque, and I did find that to be the case. And then I've used some oil-based oil markers, okay? And I was hoping that those ones would be more opaque and shiny looking. Okay, now I've only used one brand, but they look the same to me as the acrylic ones. So they, you know, it didn't improve on it, so I've just been using the Artistros. And then this brown right here, the Emokis, or however, I don't know how you pronounce that. But yeah. I would use an animal or building for the focal point if you didn't have the boy. Yeah. I would have something else in there. You know, probably something at the end of the road. In terms of some kind of focal point. You definitely need something in there, I would say, in this type of scenario right here. But yeah, I would probably put something up there or something like that, or I know that I have this other one, the old man and dog. He's on this little horseback, and you know the dog's like walking next to him, you know, and you have him go down the road like that. Yeah, but I don't know. Right now, I'm kind of wondering if I should use other little touches in here, like more wildflowers. As we sit around, if I sit around here talking too much, I keep adding and adding and adding things to these scenarios right here. I'm going to add in some little loop in here or something like that here. The scene reminds me of my sister's apple orchard. Yeah. I was looking at apple orchards when we were in the Facebook group and we're doing some of those blossomy, wasn't it a pink tree challenge or something like that a year or two ago? I started looking at more blossoms and the types of blossoms, you know, the difference between a cherry tree and an apple tree and stuff like that. All right, this area right in here looked a little bit, so see this violet right here. Isn't going to stand out, but it's just a little bit of a different hue in these areas. You probably can't see it at all, but I can see it a little bit. There's just a little violetish, little clusters of flowers right in here now. All right, so that is that. I think we can go a little bit more extreme. If I do this again, I'll go a little bit more extreme with my applications of white in here, I think. Do you see this? This white really kind of disappeared. Or it blended in with the background more, but so you can kind of build it up more, which I do a lot of times. I found out that I did that with the aspen trees a lot, using yellows and gold, you know, oranges tones. You can build it up where it does become more opaque. But I don't know, that's just one of the things with these pens. I wish they were a little bit more opaque so that I didn't have to layer quite so much to get the opacity that I want. But on the other hand, because these are not quite, you know, really solid and opaque looking. I think that's the aspect of the pens that keeps them from clogging, okay, or just drying out. Okay, these pens, I've been using them now for a couple years, and I mean, I go like sometimes probably a couple months without using them, if not more, and they just work perfectly for me. But I think that's the other side of it. The trade-off is that it's not quite as opaque of an application. It looks opaque when you apply it, but when it dries, it's a little bit more kind of see-through like that. So, okay, so I think that helped there quite a bit. Yeah, let's put a little bit more of these blossoms on the grass too. All right, that should do it, I think. Don't have me talk more, otherwise, I'll be adding in something complete. We'll be going into like glitters or something like that, Wink of Stella pens and so on and so forth. Would that be cool? You could add like some shimmery touches up there in the trees or something like that. I think that'd be cool. And like I said, I think it'd be cool to put in like, somewhere along the line we do apples up here. If I did apples, I would do these little red things, and then I would probably put some green over the top of it so they're kind of, some of them are kind of standing out, some of them are behind leaves and stuff like that. I think that might be kind of interesting. Or I don't know, whatever fruit you want. Someone mentioned peaches or something like that too. Yeah, I don't know. I guess apples, there's all kinds of different colors of them. We think about red, but, whatever. Golden Delicious, what a Honey Crisp. All right, let me see if I can get in a little bit closer. Okay, it's wobbly. That's as close as I can get. Thanks so much for watching. The boy's dog would be with... Oh, the dog. A dog would be great, too, in here. Yeah, that would be perfect. Yeah. I don't have a dog and a boy. I can grab the dog off of the old man and dog stamp. Hey, you can put them out or whatever. Right here. Right up there. All right, thanks, Diana. Thanks, everyone, for joining in here. Malin 2010. Lemon tree. Oh, my lemon tree. I was watering my lemon tree today, and it was full of blossoms right now. I love the smell of citrus trees when they're blossoming, that smell right around them. That would be cool. Yeah, we love lemons. I haven't thought about doing a lemon tree before. That's a good idea there. So I think these ash trees can be used for, I don't know, a lot of different usages here. So, all right, so that's the first test for me using them outside of a wintry type of a wintry scenario. Hey, here's that little guy going to sledding here instead, around his it doesn't even look like the same tree, does it? But those are right there. And here's the winter ash trees at night time, and here it is again in this scene right here. So anyways, yeah, I don't know which one I like more. For tonight though, I like this just because I did it right then. Oh, I want to do these trees too sometime. I want to emboss these bare trees in like a gold or silver over like a darker background. I think that would look cool. Or you emboss gold, versions of these bare trees like on gold paper or something like that, or silver on silver, because they're a little bit different. I think that would look really cool too. So, all right. Don't get me started here. There's a gazillion things I still want to try out, but yeah, I don't know. There's only so much time. We'll get to everything eventually, though. I think that'd be good. All right, Vintage Scrap Girl, thanks for joining in. CM, everyone else, Linda, Jeannie, whoever else is on. And I'll get this matted off. And yeah, I'll have to see what papers I have to mat this thing off. I wish I had pink. I don't think I have pink paper anymore, but like a thin layer of it around the edge would be really cool. But I don't know, I've gone through a lot of my colored papers, so we'll see what I have. All right, folks, thanks again, and hope to see you in the next live stream. Oh, a set for all 4 seasons, that would be cool. Good night, everyone.